Maria Press Professional Development Webinar Series. In today's webinar, Jennifer Stavinoha will share research on the key factors that help young people remain Catholic into adulthood and offer practical strategies parishes can use to walk alongside families. My name is Erin Pierce. I am the publicist at Ave Maria Press. Everyone in the audience is muted today, but you are able to ask questions. Questions can be sent to our presenter using the question box of the GoToWebinar panel, and I'll read as many of those as possible at the end of the presentation today. This webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent to you tomorrow via email. And you're free to share this webinar with friends, family, colleagues, whoever you like. With that, I would like to welcome and introduce our presenter today. Jennifer Stavinoha is a ministry leader, writer, and content creator for Ablaze Ministries. She has developed online courses and videos for Ablaze families, presents for the Catholic Foundation series by Forte Catholic, and serves as the theological editor for the Every Sacred Sunday Mass journals. She speaks regularly at parishes, schools, and retreats. Stavinoha earned a bachelor's degree in religious studies from the University of Incarnate Word and a master's degree in theology and Christian ministry from Franciscan University of Steubenville. Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and make you presenter here.
All right. Hello, everybody.
I don't see the PowerPoint yet.
Oh, it's not
showing yet.
It's on my screen. Let's see. I'll do stop showing screen, and now.
Okay, let me take it back, and then I'll give it back to you again. Okay, here, I'm going to make you presenter now.
Show my screen.
There we go. Whoop. There we go. Yes, awesome.
Great.
All right, from here, no problem.
Thanks. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Stavinoha. I am a content creator for Ablaze Families. I am also a mom to 3 mermaid princesses and 1 little hobbit. And being a mom to 3 girls gets me a lot of comments at the grocery store, such as, all girls? 3 girls? Oh, bless your heart. Or, you finally got a boy, you'll be so grateful. And I never really know how to respond to these comments, even though I know firsthand that raising girls does come with its own flavor. But I get a beautiful sneak peek into the open hearts of my kids. And on that note, I just want to share a quick story of my oldest. So when our parish first opened up after COVID, Mass was moved into the parish hall for social distancing. And that meant instead of being in pews, everyone sat in spaced apart chairs. So instead of my kids acting crazy in a pew where at least our insanity was contained, now they had their antics out for all to see on display. And there was absolutely nowhere to hide for my kids to, be crazy. And at the time, my daughter was 3, and she was just about the girliest girl that you could possibly imagine. And I remember at one Mass during the Alleluia, my daughter starts waving her arms in the air, swishing her hair and her dress and giving a little twirl. And she was dancing to the Alleluia. It was so cute. And my husband and I, our first reaction was to immediately stop her, tell her to sit still, stop dancing. But she was 3. She could just not stop herself from dancing every few bars. And in that moment, I realized that not only is this who she is, but this was her way of worshiping God, of contributing to and participating in the liturgy. She might not have known the words, but she knew that the Alleluia was meant to be a song of joy and praise to God. And after that Mass, we started getting people coming up to us and saying, oh, I love seeing your daughter dance during the Alleluia. it just brings my soul a little bit closer to heaven. And so I realize my daughter is inspiring other people in her worship. She's inspiring them in their worship. Like, maybe she knows something we don't know. Maybe that's the appropriate response to the Alleluia. And so as long as she didn't get a little too crazy, we just let her dance. And this is where we begin with, we want to keep this flame alive, right? So as parish leaders, it is part of our job to partner with parents to pass on the faith. And regarding this story, you know, I want to ask, who are our children meant to be? Who has God created them to be? We want to help the parents in our parish ask this of themselves. Who has God created my children to be? Because whoever God has created your child to be, that is their path to sainthood. We walk with parents to pass on the faith to their kids. And as we do that, we need to help parents ask this question: who are my kids? Because if God desires that they become saints, and he does desire that they become saints, what is their path to sainthood? And as much as we wish that this were the case sometimes, sainthood is not all about behavior and routine. It's not about pleasing the people around you or living up to certain expectations. It's about knowing and loving God and being fully who God made you to be. And while sometimes parents would love their kids to be perfect little angels at Mass, sitting still and quiet, our idea of perfect behavior does not equal holiness. We're not here today to talk about how to have a child who is perfect and subdued. We are here to talk about how to help parents lead their children to holiness through an experience of an encounter with Jesus Christ, experiencing the love and mercy of God through the family. I want you to hold on to this phrase right here, because I feel like this has really transformed my parenting. But our goal is not behavior modification. It's transformation. Our goal is not behavior modification, it's transformation. Behavior modification happens, but it comes after transformation. And parents get a front row seat into the transformation of their kids, but parents aren't doing the transforming. God is doing the transforming. I'm sure that we've all heard the term that parents are their child's primary catechist before. And I feel like I've heard it so many times, it's almost lost its sting or its flavor a little bit. But the parents being their child's primary catechist essentially means that parents are the ones who are primarily responsible for teaching their children the faith and introducing them to Jesus. And it's not the religion teacher, it's not the youth minister, it's not even the priest. It's parents that are primarily responsible for teaching the children their faith. And for most parents, that thought does not invigorate or inspire. For most parents, it's terrifying. When I speak to parents, I find that very few feel confident in their own abilities to pass on the faith. So many of them are asking, how can I help my child navigate the world when the world is so muddy and it's hard for me to navigate? How can I provide answers to their questions when I don't even have all the answers? How can I be a rock, an example for them when I have my own baggage, my own sins, my own past, my own failures? This phrase, child's primary catechist, is a big, scary, impossible seeming job. But the good news is that God knew the temperament and baggage and limitations that we have when he gave each kid to their parents. He knew all the ways that they would sin, all the ways they would mess up, and he gave them their kids anyway. And he desires the salvation of each of those kids more than parents do, more than we do. And God does not intend to leave parents alone. He intends to give them the Holy Spirit to help them raise their kids and to give them the words to say. So if you get anything out of this session, this is what I want you to receive. The two main things that parents can do to enkindle and fan the flame in their kids' lives. Number one, parents modeling personal prayer for their kids. Parents model personal prayer for their kids. Number two, parents ensuring that the faith is the source of the warmth in their homes. And how can we help parents do these things? How can we cultivate a prayer life for parents? How do we help parents ensure that the faith is the source of the warmth in their homes? So why these two things? I didn't just, come up with these things on my own and just decided that these were going to be the two most primary things. So there is emerging research on lasting faith in families, and this study is called Raised Catholic, Who Stays and Who Goes. And it was done by the Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate, or CARA, by the Peyton Institute for Domestic Church Life. And this research has stated that those that kept their faith into adulthood relied not on memories of what they prayed or how they prayed as children. It didn't matter if they did a rosary every day, didn't matter if they went to daily mass, it didn't matter if you homeschooled or did Catholic school or ate organic or had a home birth, none of that mattered. Rather, it was based on whether or not the faith was the source of the warmth in the home. If the faith was the source of the warmth in their home, it was the memory of how they felt during family prayer that determined whether or not they kept their faith. So did their kids feel stifled or forced during prayer? Sit down, shut up, pray, behave. Or did they feel loved, welcomed, like communicating with God was something that felt comforting, that brought joy and intimacy and closeness? Those that said that they felt like family prayer was a happy time with joy and peace and love and intimacy where they could be who they are were the ones that kept their faith. And those that felt like family prayer was more of an obligation to sit down, shut up, and behave, they were less likely to hold on to their faith. So this is a question we can ask ourselves. Are kids associating shame or even fear with prayer? Does the faith feel like a list of all the things that we don't do as Catholics? Or are our kids associating prayer with a feeling of security, connectedness, freedom, and belonging? Children carry the memory of the feeling of prayer with them well into adulthood. And, I have 4 kids. I know what the reality is. In reality, that's what family prayer looks like for a lot of us. Sit down, shut up, pray. Come on, it's your turn to say the Hail Mary. Just say the Hail Mary. I get it. I do. Like I said, God knew what he was doing when he gave each parent their kids. So don't despair. Let's talk about this a little more. It's not about step 1, 2, 3, get X result. It's about the relationship. Is God a part of everyday life? Kids who own the faith as adults experience the faith as the source of the warmth in their homes, but their homes weren't perfect. You do not need to have a perfect family, but if the faith is a source of the warmth, it brings a positive association, something that we turn to in joy and in sorrow. So when we do this, in addition to bonding parents and kids to the faith, it also allows kids to not be alienated by the rules that we might have. I'm sure you've heard many times, oh, Catholicism has so many rules, the Catholic Church has so many rules. I hear that so often. And this is kind of where it comes from. So when a Christian family defines itself by the things that we don't do, we're Christians, so we don't do those things that those pagan families do. We are anti-evangelizing our kids. Children experience the faith as a list of do nots. We don't do this, we don't do that, we don't do this, as a list of do nots and prohibitions. So then when they become adolescents, they experience the faith as the source of the obstacles to figuring out who they're meant to be rather than the source of who they are meant to be, right? We talked about we're all called to sainthood. We all have this innate desire to be a saint, and we all have this innate desire to know who we are meant to be. And if the faith is being presented as the source of the obstacles of who I'm meant to be, then they're more likely to reject it, which is why research shows that kids start rejecting their faith by 11 and 13 years old. And there will definitely be kids at that age, even through high school, that will play by the rules because they know what's expected of them. They know how to talk the talk and walk the walk. But then in college, I see this a lot, they seem to totally lose their faith out of nowhere. But the reality was it was lost long before then. And that does seem scary, but there's some things we can do. So early childhood faith until about age 10 is about stories and structures. So how the world works, Bible stories, saint stories, playing mass. That's awesome. That's exactly where they are. It helps them to have a structure. But then as soon as they hit those preteen years, that 13, or really 11 and up, kids hit the relationship stage of faith. And at that age, kids believe that something is true to the degree that it facilitates their relationships. I'll say that again. Kids at that age, in those preteen years, believe that something is true to the degree that it facilitates their relationships. And they believe that something is false to the degree that it complicates their relationships. And if our faith is seen, is perceived as complicating their relationships because in their mind, it's all about what we don't do, because we think that as long as we can, you know, they're more likely to reject it. If they see our faith as complicating their relationships, they're more likely to reject it. And this is where we hit issues, because we think that as long as we can maintain the rules and the structures, that our kids are going to be fine. But what that ends up saying to pre-adolescent, preteen kids is that your faith that you're expected to keep is a bunch of obstacles that you have to surmount to belong in the world. And when we take that approach, faith dies. We want our kids rather to see faith as helping them to be who they are meant to be. Faith helping them to navigate their relationships, faith to enrich their relationships. That is what our faith does. It enriches and deepens and enlivens our relationships, but we have to present the faith to our kids in that light. So again, for kids until 10, it's all about the stories and structures, the rules, but after that, it's all about the relationships. How does my faith help my relationships? How does it help me figure out who I am? And the most important one, who is Jesus and what does he think about me? All right, so let's talk about facilitating family prayer, because this is a big one. Prayer as a family and modeling prayer for our kids is that next piece that parents need. And I know when I first became a parent, I had this image in my head of how family prayer was going to go. I imagined all of our kids sitting around in a circle, hands perfectly folded, talking to God innocently and sweetly, or waiting for their turn to pray. And those of you that are parents are probably laughing right now, because that is basically not ever what happens. Instead, family prayer is usually loud. Sometimes, most of the times, it consists of someone climbing on the couch or on me. There are interruptions to share a story of something that happened that day. It's really just managed chaos. So how do parents facilitate family prayer? And I will tell you that parents I talk to can get very discouraged with family prayer, and we need to make it known that family prayer is going to look different for families at different stages of life. But whatever stage each family is at, if they're just starting out, we want to encourage them to lower their expectations. Their kids will probably not be going into ecstasy, having deep philosophical insights, seeing visions. they're probably going to start out by praying for whatever stuffed animal they're sleeping with that night. And that's okay. Let them pray for whatever is on their heart or mind at the moment, even if it sounds ridiculous. We want to teach them that God cares about what they care about, and God is someone that we can tell important things to. So I'll share what my family does every night. At the end of our bedtime routine, we ask our kids to tell us one thing that they want to thank God for and one thing they want to pray for. And then we end with each person taking a turn doing one kid does an Our Father, one does a Hail Mary, one does a Glory Be. And if it's Advent, Christmas, or Lent, or Easter, we'll sing a song. We like to do the Jesse tree for Advent and the Advent wreath. Then we'll sing O Come, Come Emmanuel. For Christmas, we'll sing, maybe Joy to the World. During Lent, I think we sang Were You There When They Crucified My Lord? And then Easter, we sang Jesus Christ is Risen Today. And my kids love to sing. Bringing music into family prayer is just such a transformative tool to use for families. And it's totally okay if kids want to pray for their toys or don't know what to say. Ask again the next day. And bedtime doesn't need to be our only opportunity for family prayer. Obviously, meals, car rides, before important events like tests or basketball games can be opportunities for family prayer. Just really putting prayer in the center of our family life. So whatever is going on in our family, we can ask God to come into that. Whatever we do, the most important thing and the only thing that really matters is to introduce our children to Jesus. When Jesus is the center and the focus of all of it, everything else falls into place. So be consistent, invite them into prayer. So why teach our kids to pray? Kids at different ages need different things. So let's talk about littles, young kids. How much can really be done with toddlers? And sometimes it seems pointless because it's like, are they going to remember anything when they ask them what they want to pray for? They just pray for mermaids and penguins. And, why is teaching them to pray important? We teach our kids to pray at a young age to, first of all, instill in them a habit that will last a lifetime. How much harder would it be to have prayer as part of your daily life if you started as an adult with no practice? So think about toddler soccer, for instance. It seems on the outside like a complete waste of time, with everyone running around in random directions, picking flowers, kicking grass, waving to the opponents, scoring for the opponents. It's not exactly a FIFA material, but no one gets to play professional soccer without first learning how to play soccer. And no one in professional soccer started off as an adult. Every FIFA World Cup champion started off playing as a young kid. And it's the same with prayer. We instill in them the habit of daily prayer, even if it's not perfect, so that as adults, they will know how to pray and already have that habit instilled in them. When we teach them to pray and model it for ourselves, they are absorbing and picking up what they see us do. An example that's happened in my family is one of my daughters used to stay completely silent when we asked her what she wanted to pray for. We would say, Therese, what would you like to pray for? And then she'd just not say anything. We just say, okay, and we move on to the next person. We do this every day. And I was starting to wonder, like, am I doing something wrong? Is she understanding what we're doing? But one day I heard her while she was playing in her room by herself. She had her dolls with her. And I heard her say, come on, Rainbow, time to pray. God, I love you so, so much. Please help me to be safe. Amen. Even though she wasn't quite ready to engage during family prayer, she was absorbing and learning what happens when we pray and how to do it when she's ready. And at this point, it's been several years since that happened, and she absolutely knows how to pray. She prays out loud with the rest of the family. So young kids, what are some practical ways that we can help parents, teach parents to teach their young kids to pray? So there are some practical tips that we can share with parents. So for an example, at a very young age, kids can recognize a crucifix on the wall. A 1-year-old, an 18-month-old can recognize a crucifix on the wall. So every time you pass a crucifix, point it out to your child and just say, Jesus. And I even like to teach them the sign and sign language for Jesus. And that's just pointing to both of your palms, alternating on both of your palms. Jesus. You can start doing that with a very young child. Teach your child the sign of the cross, model it for them and help them do it throughout the day. I do this with I've been doing this with my 1-year-old ever since he could, really before he could sit, just getting his arm and helping him do the sign of the cross. And on a very physical, practical level, you're helping build in the muscle memory for what hand do you use the sign of the cross and which direction do you, when you do the Holy Spirit, he won't ever have to struggle going back and forth because he'll have that muscle memory of me teaching him which direction it goes. Read them Bible stories. Make Jesus come alive for them. Instill in our kids the wonder of God, the awe and wonder of God who made the whole world and who loves them, who knows every hair on their head and who they can actually talk to and who will hear them. Now, this next part, Mass with Littles, this is the topic that every parent of small children wants to know. How do I get my kids to behave at Mass? And I feel the pain of every parent. If there was a way that I could just give us all a magic formula to make kids behave at Mass, or at least let parents pay attention, I would give it to you. But teaching and modeling prayer for our kids is not behavior-based. A quiet, subdued child is not holier than a loud, rambunctious child. We need to have this on a sign in every parish, in every Catholic church. A quiet, subdued child is not holier than a loud, rambunctious child. But when kids are at the age of run, that's just where they are developmentally, and that is good. We need to encourage parents to keep bringing them anyway. Keep showing up. Parents hear every little squeak and peep and yell and scream our kids make, but kids tend to bother their parents way more than they bother other people. And if someone is bothered by someone else's kids, I like to quote Jennifer Fulweiler, who will say, "I am so sorry that this is not something you are used to." That is an opportunity that the Lord is giving us to show mercy to a young family. However, there are some things parents can do to help them to be more successful at Mass. Making sure that their child has had a good snack or gone potty before Mass sets them up for success. Bringing books about Jesus help. Also, as a parish, we need to do what we can to make sure that Mass is as welcoming and as an environment as possible for parents and kids. The Mass is hard for small humans, but they belong because they're baptized Christians. But it's hard. It's not developmentally appropriate by any means, and we need to remember that. So what can we do to help parents during Mass? When a parish provides things that help during Mass, it sends a very clear message that parents and their kids are welcome and that they belong. Some ideas are having an extra stash of children's faith-based books available to borrow. Providing simple, thoughtful things like a stool in the church bathroom because small kids can't reach the sink, or a potty ring in one of the stalls because it's easy for little kids to fall in. Those are such simple, small things that help parents out tremendously and send a huge message. Putting a sign in the cry room, asking that the room be used for parents and kids only. There are often many people who sit there and take up that space that parents might need just because it's their personal preference. But we need to make it clear that this space is for a parent calming their child, which it's also why I love the term so many parishes have adopted, instead of the word cry room, a calming room. Our parish in the announcements before Mass invites parents to use the calming room if you need to calm your child down, and then invites them to return when your child is calm, because children are always welcome at Mass. Having a space for nursing moms that provide extra diapers, wipes, feminine products, even donuts and coffee after Mass, they go a long way to give a child something to look forward to. And not only that, having something after Mass, it's again giving a positive association with Mass. I can't wait to go to Mass because I know we've got something to look forward to, and that's huge for small kids, and it gives parents an opportunity to grow in community, which parents desperately need. Also, remember that Mass is for them too. We've been talking about transformation rather than behavior modification. So how do we facilitate that? Parents can engage them in the liturgy. Ask them, where's Jesus? Where's Jesus? There he is. Ask them, where's Mary? Where's the tabernacle? Ask them to count the candles. What color is the priest wearing today? During the transubstantiation, I always make a big deal to our kids about what is happening on the altar. I like to gasp silently and point and say, oh, look, that bread just turned into Jesus's body. Look, the wine in the chalice turned into Jesus's blood. That's amazing. It's a miracle. So our kids can know where our attention is supposed to be at that moment, and that something amazing is happening. When the priest says, and he holds up the Eucharist and he says, behold the Lamb of God, I always tell my kids, he's saying behold. Behold means look. At that moment, my kids, even if they're, playing on the floor or looking at their book, their heads snap up, because behold the Lamb of God. Behold means look. At every point in the Mass, it helps to remember that kids don't know what's happening, and they need someone to show them and to tell them about it. And obviously this is not, a one-off. This is going to be a years-long endeavor. But your children are listening and absorbing. They're watching their parents, how their parents treat the Mass. Kids will grow up knowing the holiness of the Mass if we show them why this is a special place, by kids seeing their parents' own reverence rather than when we scold them on how not to act. Remember, God himself made children as they are, and their volume levels are not offensive to him. The beauties of the church are not reserved for single people and empty nesters. They are for parents and for their kids, and they are welcome at church. They belong at church. Kids at whatever age or stage they are in, they're meant to be there, and they are a vital part of the body of Christ. So now let's move on to adolescence. We've got some practicals on teaching older kids to pray, helping parents teach their older kids to pray. And I think for so many adults, the idea of dealing with teens and preteens is intimidating. I think maybe because, obviously it was a long time ago, but when we were teens, when we were adolescents, being a teen and adolescent is such a confusing and muddy time. That's really going to go back there on purpose, right? The reality is that the desire of adolescents is to be seen and known and loved, and they want to be understood and met and heard. And the beauty of prayer is that prayer is actually the answer to what so many teens deeply desire. Prayer is, prayer is being seen and known and loved and heard by a God who knows them intimately, just as they are, flaws and all. So we don't need to be afraid to introduce prayer to teens, because we can be confident of the fact that that connection and friendship with God is exactly what they are seeking, even if they don't know it yet. The best way to teach them to pray is for parents to model it for them and to be that example. Even if prayer was never really in the picture before for those parents, it's still the best way. Teens deeply value authenticity, and if they notice that their parents are making it a priority in their lives, like for real, they will start to take notice. And at this stage, make prayer an invitation for them. Forcing them into a relationship with anyone is going to feel incredibly inauthentic, even forcing them into a relationship with God. So if they can't say no, they also can't say yes. Model prayer for them, invite them into it, give them the opportunities to say yes. Also, connect the faith to their interests. Parents need to be mindful about what their teen is interested in. What does he or she connect with? Is it art or music or journaling? Is it facts or history or theory? Find something they already love and show them a way to pray with that. They can find some great worship music to plug them into, or teach them how to pray using a journal. If they're big into nature and being outside, teach them how to do a rosary walk. Find the thing that your kids are interested in and show them that it can lead them into a real relationship with God. Plug them into a youth group if you have one at your parish. Invest in a retreat or summer conference. Encourage friendships centered around the church. As a parish, we can provide a space to hang out or do homework after school. Holy friendships are so important for teens, especially, and encouragement from other adults, especially young adults. Get connected with the college. If there's college students in your area, holy college students, get connected, get plugged in with them. Okay, let's move on to prayer as a parent. I get that this is difficult. But as we mentioned before, the number one thing that parents can do for their kids to pass on the faith is to have their own prayer life. And if we're not journeying on the path towards heaven ourselves, how can we lead our kids to Christ, right? And I get it, prayer as a parent is really hard. As parents in different stages of life, daily prayer is going to look a little different. And if you had a prayer life before you had kids, prayer might have looked like sitting down to a Bible and a journal with a cup of coffee in the morning, or daily mass or holy hour. And all of that was the case for me. And then when kids came along, it all went out the window. But remember that intimacy with God is going to look different from someone who is in a different stage and season of life than you. So just remember, St. Teresa of Avila didn't have a 3-year-old following her to the bathroom all day. You have a different calling. Your season of life is usually going to mean a different way to pray, and it might take some trial and error to find out what works best. But the number one reason I have seen parents struggling with prayer, the number one reason is guilt. Guilt for not doing it sooner, guilt for getting distracted, guilt for not being consistent, guilt for not knowing what to say to God. And that guilt is getting in the way of us not only living out our own faith, but being the example our kids need. And if it's been a while since you've prayed, remember that God is not keeping score. Prayer is so important, not just for our own soul, but for our kids to have an example to see and follow, even when it's not perfect. So let's talk about modeling prayer. Intimacy with God does not always look the way that many of us think that it should. And as Catholics, we have such a wealth of knowledge and wisdom for the saints. We have Teresa of Avila, John of the Cross. They give us these beautiful treatises on prayer and communing with God. And as a parent, it's hard not to read that and think, well, this is what I'm supposed to have, and for some reason I can't have it, and then feel guilty that I'm not doing prayer the right way. So here are some practical things parents can do to find ways to pray. So make a list of every time you might have any downtime. That might be in the car, doing dishes, folding laundry, between meetings, before the kids get up, after they go down, any small amount of time, and make that your prayer time. You can read your Bible, you can take notes in a journal with a candle and coffee, but you can also pray in the car. Take a holy hour while you nurse the baby. Pray a rosary throughout the day. Use a prayer app on your phone. Organize a folder on your phone containing your social media. Title that folder, Pray First, before you open any social media. You can tell God one thing you're grateful for, one thing you want to pray for. Do a daily check-in with God and tell him about one thing that's on your mind. Something that was a game changer for me, instead of having prayer time despite my children, I began to invite my kids into my prayer. So this is kind of like my favorite way to pray is, it's very simple. Just simply get a basket, put a few age-appropriate prayer items in it. So that might be faith-based coloring pages with crayons. It might be a children's Bible. For older kids, it might be their own prayer journal. For smaller children, a baby rosary. I like to add an LED candle for just some sensory engagement. So when it was my prayer time, it was everyone's prayer time. So I turn on some soft praise and worship music, bring out my Bible and journal, turn on the LED candle, and then let my kids share in my prayer time. Doing this has not only given me way more time with the Lord than anything else I've done, but it has also begun to instill that daily habit of meeting with the Lord for my kids. All right, belonging at our parish. As a parish, we need to ask, what are the obstacles to parents being able to cultivate a healthy relationship with the Lord? So first, start with the sacraments. Are daily Mass times offered at a family-friendly time during the day? What about confession? Is that offered during a family-friendly time during the day? Consider partnering with your priest to host once a month playground confession times where the priest holds confession at a local park. That way parents can come to confession and their kids can play. Think about adoration. Here in Bryan College Station, a local parish has a toddler adoration time, and it's not anything fancy. It's just 1 hour a week, 9 a.m. on Mondays during perpetual adoration. So the priest literally has to do nothing extra, and parents are welcome to bring their kids. And the adorers at that time, at that 9 a.m. on Monday, know, they are aware, it's going to be loud. And it is loud. It's not quiet. It's rambunctious, and there are kids getting up and walking and asking questions and, asking to light candles. It's loud, but it is holy. There's no special teaching or anything. There's no Bible story read. It's literally simply adoration. Parents are welcome to bring their kids, but parents can come to adoration and not feel pressure to have their kids sit still and shut up. And this time, I have seen such an incredible growth in my own children because they've learned by watching me, oh, when we pass the altar, we bow because Jesus is right there. Or the stained glass windows have all the Stations of the Cross. They know the Stations of the Cross now because of walking around looking at the stained glass windows. They've learned how we behave at adoration because of the transformation that they have experienced by continually attending adoration. And then after adoration, parents and kids meet up in the pack for snacks and coffee and socializing. And I would say that this ministry is one of the most important ministries at that parish because parents are getting in prayer time. Kids are being exposed to the Eucharist, learning about the Lord by watching their parents. And the parents are given the space to connect and grow in relationship with each other after adoration. Kids are given the space to meet other Catholic kids whose parents are striving for holiness. Just giving parents the space. It's not a special program. It's not anything you have to teach at or do any kind of programming for. It's just the space and the opportunity. Partner with ministries that teach parents about technology, social media, and screen time. Parents feel incredible pressure to get their kids on screens as early as possible, and the research shows that this is about the worst thing that they can do. So encouraging parents to delay screens and social media for as long as possible. And again, there are ministries out there that teach parents about technology and social media and will help empower parents to make those right decisions in delaying social media and screen time. Cultivate an environment at your parish that welcomes families and foster a healthy family culture. So here in Texas, we have a grocery store called H-E-B, which is a massive grocery store chain. And at our H-E-B, we have parking spaces, not just for people with disabilities, but also spaces for pregnant women or families with kids or pregnant women with kids. Why don't we have these at our churches too? That would be amazing. It sends the message, even though, you know, we probably have a ton of pregnant women or a ton of families with kids, even if there is 1 or 2 spaces like that, it sends the message that we value you. We don't value baby boomers and empty nesters and single people more than families. You are valued. We have a spot for you. It might be filled up right now, but we have a spot. It can be so discouraging to be a parent today, but parishes can do so much to make parents feel welcomed. And we can do so much that ensure that parents are not alone in their journey of trying to raise saints. And remember that Catholic parents in today's world feel guilt acutely. So many of them feel like they aren't doing it right, especially when they feel like they fail so often. But God is not petty. He's not going to shame us or put us down or ignore us for missing prayer or not doing things how we think is the right way. But he does deeply desire that we come to him every day, even in small moments, especially in small moments. God did not make parenthood a season intentionally devoid of opportunities to pray or encounter him, because this is a season of life where parents need the Lord the most. All right, that's what I have, Erin.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. I'll let you take a breath here and a sip of water, perhaps.
Yes,
and I
perfect.
invite all of you on with us to submit questions that you have for Jennifer. I'd be interested in hearing, what are some of the obstacles in your parish that you have towards parents? Or maybe even how have you overcome some of those obstacles? Jennifer might be able to help us overcome, and you might be able to inspire other parishes and leaders in ways that they can overcome those obstacles too. And so I invite you to put a question in the question box. I'm going to go ahead and take back presenter mode from you. There we go. Okay. I'll lead with this question. What if you are a ministry leader in a parish whose leadership doesn't support families at Mass?
That's so hard.
I know.
That is so hard. The first thing is just encouragement to keep showing up, keep coming anyway. I have unfortunately heard of stories of priests from the pulpit saying, take that baby out of Mass, or, shaming a mom whose child is having a hard time, unfortunately. But Mass is for you. The Eucharist is for you and your family. If your child is baptized, he or she is a daughter or a son of God. Keep showing up. The other thing I would say, so if this is not just like Mass in general, if this is like, if you have leadership at your parish that isn't motivated to provide a welcoming environment to families, then this is something that is very well done on a grassroots level. So before we had this children's adoration stuff here in this area, we had a couple of moms realize we have this need for community, we have this need for support that we're not getting at our parishes. So one mom opened up the Signal app, and I think you can do this on WhatsApp, you can do this on GroupMe, whatever, and she just started adding every Catholic mom in this area to Signal. And the name of the group, it was just a heart, and it was just like a general chat. And then from there started to grow all of these different chats. Now we have hundreds of Catholic moms on the Signal app, where the heart chat is the main chat, but we have like there's a free group. There's a free group one where like if you're getting rid of free stuff, you can just grab it. There's a prayer intentions one. There's a play date one. There's a stay-at-home moms one. There's one for moms with curly hair and moms that want to cook gluten-free. And like there's dozens of these groups, but it's so cool that like, so here we have four parishes in our area, and women from all of these parishes, like when you meet another Catholic mom, the first thing you say is, are you on Signal? That's the first thing anyone around here says, are you on Signal? And if not, let me add you. And that was just a very grassroots thing that started, and that moms can do to support one another. And then we had, we started toddler adoration, and even now still on those Signal groups, we'll say like, who else going to toddler adoration, or whatever.
That's great. Yeah, grassroots. I love that. I've got some questions coming in. Here we go. Families are so busy with activities and sports. How can we as parish faith formation leaders encourage them to find balance without coming across judgmental or scolding?
Oh, yes, the struggle of sports. Yeah. Okay, so I think it depends on the ages of the kids. So if you are like doing middle school or high school ministry, I think it's easier because I think you can show up for their sports. When I was in youth ministry, that we used to do this all the time. Find out what the football schedule was, the soccer schedule, whatever, cross country meets, and we would go. We would go to their meets, go to their games. For younger kids, yeah, I mean, obviously getting out your own schedule as quick as possible, that is probably the biggest priority, making sure that your schedule comes out before any kind of sports schedule so that it's on their calendar. And then something that our parish does here that I think is a good idea is having two options. So Sunday after Mass is our faith formation day. And then we also have another option, which is Wednesday evenings. So we have those two options. And I think that the wording has been, we understand that you're busy. We know that, life is crazy. Life is crazy for me too. However, we also know that this is so important and this is a priority, and we are partnering with you, the parents. So almost putting it back on them, like, we are partnering with you to help raise your child in the faith. And so these are the times that we offer. But I really just encourage like using that kind of language of, we are partnering with you parents. We get it. We know life is busy. We are all doing our best here. And then getting your schedules out as soon as possible.
As a parish, your schedule out.
As a parish.
Yeah. Right. Okay, that's a good idea. Have you encountered any parents who have said their teens have lost the faith already? What would your suggestion be besides modeling prayer? What else can they do to help give opportunities to bring them back around?
Oh, yes. Okay, so first, obviously, pray for them. Yeah, that is so hard. There's a really good book called How to Draw Your Child Back to the Faith. Who is that by? Brandon Vaught? Is that right? Look it up. It's blue and white. I remember that.
I can look it up.
Or maybe it's to church. Back to the faith or back to church? Back to the church.
Is it return? Return.
Yes.
How to draw your child back to the church. Yep.
Yes. That one has that whole book has some great advice and great strategies on bringing your kid back to the faith. So first of all, pray. Also know that not everything is going to hinge on you. And as hard as that is for a parent, as parents, we want to just make our kids like do the thing that you have to do, but you can't force your child. You can't force anybody to love someone or something they don't love. And that is hard. That is a hard reality. But yes, I would recommend that book and some of the strategies in there.
Yeah. Brandon Vaught is an Ave author, but we did not publish that. His last name is Vogt, so you guys can look that up. We've got a couple more questions here. What changes have you seen in what families need, since so many are working and have such limited time available to do things as a family, especially for having family faith opportunities at the parish?
Yes, so I really, really recommend, this is going to be hard. I really recommend doing a family-based catechesis. This is what I mean by that. Where instead of Sunday school, like the traditional Sunday school, like every week you go, you sit in a classroom or whatever, and you have a catechist, instead doing family groups. So what we do here is once a month, all of the families that participate in catechesis meet here at the PAC, where the DRE or the priest gives catechesis to the parents. The parents are the ones receiving catechesis on this topic, while the kids are they are going through like a mini vacation Bible school. Like, it's fun. So they'll like have a song and games and then like catechesis there. So that's like the first Sunday of the month. Then the families are broken up by zip code, so or neighborhood, to where, okay, whatever family, put like 2 or 3 or 4 families together that live kind of in a similar area. And those families will walk through what they were just taught by the DRE and or the priest. And so the parents are the ones that are now teaching their kids. And so when we do that, not only is there ownership by the parents, because the parents are now having to actually teach their kids, but also the parents can do it at their own schedule. You can schedule it whenever you want, and you do it at your house. Or, well, we've done it. We've like done it at our house, or the other families that we do it with, we've done it at their houses. We've also like met up at a park and done it at a park, and we've had our parish priest join us a couple of times for this catechesis. And so we'll do that like twice a month, and then the other week. So it would be like, your 4 weeks. The first week is the family catechesis all together. The next 2 weeks are meeting up as family groups. And then the last week is kind of like an optional, like most people are done teaching whatever that topic is. But that final week is supposed to be like a community hangout, get together, like just growing in community as families. And there are lots of resources for this type of family catechesis model. Our parish has been doing this for about 4 years. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we've been doing it for about 4 years now. I guess this would be our 4th year. No, this is going to be our 5th year. No, our 4th. This is our 4th year doing it. But it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to grow in relationship with other families, for our kids to receive directly from us, and to see all of us and the families that we are with to grow in our own faith and in confidence in passing on the faith. So our parish did have guinea pig groups, and we were in one of the guinea pig groups to just kind of test the waters and see how it went. And I will tell you, there were parents that were not happy. They did not want to be the ones to teach their kids. They wanted to drop their kids off at RE. Yeah. But it's been a success. After the first maybe 2 years, parents were realizing, oh, I didn't know that, or like, I'm actually learning a whole bunch more than I thought I would be. So, if this is something you choose to do, prepare for some pushback, but it is so good.
Yeah.
So that's what I recommend.
So would there be resources on Ablaze website or on your website for that?
So let's see, we've done, there's one by Sophia
Okay.
Institute,
Mm-hmm.
has a very robust amount of resources. We've done them for the past 3 years. And then this year, I can send you the information.
Okay.
A parish in like, oh, I'm so sorry if I mess this up. It's like Wisconsin or like one of those states, or Minnesota. I don't know. A Midwestern state. They created their own family catechesis, not model, but content, and that's what we're using this year. And I've heard from the DRE that it's much better. So I can send that to you because that apparently is getting very popular.
Yeah, if you could send that to me and then I can include that in the follow-up email that goes out tomorrow, that would be great.
Yes.
Well, I know we're going over our time and I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to all the questions, but Jennifer, this has been really excellent, so inspiring, and very, very practical. So I know everybody is going to be so grateful for this. And so one of the reasons why you've come on today, or we've got to know each other, is because you published a new book with Ave, Sacred Chaos. Yay! Finding Joy and Jesus in the Messiness of Motherhood, a restorative 3-week retreat. Tell us why you wanted to write this book.
Because I struggle with prayer too. I also struggle with prayer. And I realized, every time I would be gifted a devotional that you can pick up whenever, that's wonderful for so many people, and that just doesn't work for me. If I can pick up a devotional whenever I want, it means I'm never going to pick it up. I needed something to kind of just give me a little bit of a kick in the pants to actually move forward. So Sacred Chaos, restorative 3-week retreat, it really meets moms where they are at. And it gives us, here's day 1, now here's day 2, now here's day 3. We're actually moving forward. It's not, just random different themes pulled out of thin air. It's very cohesive. It's meant to build on itself. So you're actually going in a direction. There's a flow to it. And it just helps me to continue making prayer part of my daily life. Something else as part of Sacred Chaos is I don't ever really connect with different devotionals that pray for you, like here's your prayer of the day. I want to facilitate a prayer between you and the Lord. So here's a scripture verse, here's a short reflection, and then here are some things for you to take and pray and have your own conversation with God, because I don't know what God is doing in your life, but He does. And so I want you to be able to take that to prayer. And then every week, so every week has a different theme. And in the book, there are QR codes to scan and have access to a Spotify playlist that has a different worship song that goes along with every day, and it matches the theme exactly. So it like I said, it's very, it builds on itself. You're definitely going somewhere rather than just, something that you can pick up whenever.
Yeah, and the each day reading is only like 2-3 pages, so it's not something that's too much.
Very doable. And at the beginning of each day, I have, if you only have 2 minutes a day to pray, pray this.
Right.
If you were like, I've got nothing, here you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I think it could be a beautiful gift for the moms in your life, or even for yourself. So thank you for writing this. Thank you for sharing it with us. And as always, we like to give you all with us a discount, so you can order this at Ave Maria Press, 20% off using code webinar1014 for today's date. Thank you, thank you. And I invite you all to join us for the next one. Austin Habish, who is the host of the Summa in a Year podcast, is going to present a webinar exploring what he calls one of the most practical and overlooked areas of St. Thomas Aquinas's thought, and that's on the human emotions. So he's going to walk you through what the emotions are, what causes them, and how to remedy them to give us a clear understanding of our own interior life and practical tools for growth, but also to equip how can we then pass this on to our parishioners who are struggling, maybe struggling emotionally or seeking healing or striving to grow in virtue, of course. Please join us for that. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging on there with us. Jennifer, thanks again. Go back to your mermaids and your boy. So much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.